Today, I want to talk about the most common and widespread mistakes men make at the very beginning of getting to know a woman or starting a relationship. If you take this advice seriously and reflect on what I'm about to share, your chances of success will grow significantly, starting as soon as tomorrow. Let's begin with one of the most basic yet frequent issues, taking too much initiative. One of the fastest ways to lose a woman's interest is by always being the one to initiate everything, especially setting up meetings. Always being available, always offering to meet up, even when she hasn't asked, whether it's Friday, Saturday, Tuesday, or whatever. That's a red flag. Ask yourself this. Have you ever told a woman you really like that you can't meet on a certain day? Have you ever canceled a date? Or do you drop everything and run to her every single time, no matter what? This might seem like a small detail, but it's actually a huge factor. If she's the one constantly ending the conversations, saying, I'm off to bed, talk to you later, and you're the one always reaching out, always calling, this creates a dynamic where her interest gradually fades. Sometimes it never even fully develops. Even if a man is objectively attractive, confident, charismatic, with model-like looks, if he behaves like this, even an average-looking woman will eventually lose interest. At first, she might enjoy the attention, but soon enough, she'll move on to someone else. Maybe even to a guy who doesn't look like much at all. Because in this context, appearance isn't what matters most. It's the emotional experience your behavior creates. What does your behavior make her feel? That's what truly defines your connection. Let's shift to another common trap, trying to lock in a relationship too soon. Some men think that by making future plans, booking tickets, planning trips, talking about moving in together, they're showing serious intentions. They assume this will make a woman feel secure and appreciated, but in reality, that's a huge miscalculation. Yes, it might seem logical. I want something real, so I'll show her I'm serious. But most women only want that kind of commitment from someone they're already emotionally attached to. When a woman says, I'm looking for a serious relationship, what she really means is that she wants one with someone she's in love with. If you come in with a distorted perception, saying, I'm serious about you, I want something real, but she doesn't feel that spark, she'll respond with something like, I want something serious too, but not with you. This approach just doesn't work. Now let's talk about power dynamics, strong versus weak positions. Many men confuse initiative with strength. They believe that taking control and making decisions shows leadership. But in relationships, it often works the opposite way. Usually, the person who is in the weaker position is the one trying to grow and move the relationship forward. The one in the stronger position is more reserved, more passive. Why? Because they're the one who chooses. They say yes or no. They have the final say. And this is exactly why you should avoid saying things like, are we officially together now? Or where is this going? Because once you start pushing for answers or commitment, you shift into the weaker role. Now let's touch on something more intimate. When it comes to physical connection or emotional closeness, things aren't always black and white. These days, many women are quite open about their desires. And we have to be honest, if a man hesitates or plays it too slow, he can come off as awkward or inexperienced. I can't count how many times women have told me in private sessions that they lost interest because the guy was too hesitant, too cautious. I covered this in detail in my second webinar. Also in my full course, Breaking Down Female Attraction, available on my site, link below, I go into depth on this. Here's the thing. If a man is dealing with a woman who's openly flirtatious, or if he doesn't realize that she's already interested physically, and he still acts like a shy schoolboy, just holding hands, walking around the city, waiting for the right moment, she'll quietly label him as weak. She won't say it out loud, but she'll lose interest. You might think, she probably wants something serious. She must be into romance. But in reality, she sees you as a fool, a pushover. She won't tell you this directly, but that's how she really feels. And here's something important I cover in my course. You don't truly know a woman unless she chooses to open up to you herself. Even if you try to make a move and she says, "No, don't do that," or "What are you thinking?" Those words don't necessarily mean she doesn't want anything. But I don't recommend continuing down that road. Why? Because getting involved with a highly sexual woman without understanding what you want can break you down. You have to be honest with yourself. What do you really want? If your goal is to bring order and clarity to your personal life, you need experience and practice, not casual hookups with emotionally unstable women. These short-term flings often feel thrilling for a moment, but they eventually lead to emotional chaos. And if that kind of connection turns into a long-term relationship, it can be even more damaging. So before anything else, figure out what you truly want. Another big mistake men make is trying to set boundaries and rules in a relationship before they've earned the right to do so. Here's the core question. What gives you the authority to tell a woman what you don't like and expect her to listen? Why should your opinion carry weight? It all comes down to one thing: the amount of pleasure and emotional fulfillment a woman believes she can get from interacting with you. And that is mostly determined by how much initial attraction she feels toward you. This doesn't require deep love right off the bat. In fact, you might not have even met her in person yet. Guys who've been through my practical training will understand exactly what I mean. You might have only exchanged messages, but if you positioned yourself well from the start and avoided common mistakes, she'll have no reason to see you as someone she can manipulate or dominate. If you don't come across as passive, boring, or awkward, if you're not asking dull questions about the weather or texting, "How's your day?" constantly, then she'll view you differently, especially if you've already engaged her in what I call a level 2 conversation, the kind I teach in my course, You Know Nothing About Women, available on my website, link in the description. That's when she becomes willing to make sacrifices for you. And yes, I've seen this even in extreme cases. Women who had never met me in person, but were ready to travel hundreds of miles just to see me. That's the level of interest we're talking about. At that level of interest, yes, you can begin to set boundaries, but you have to do it the right way. Not through ultimatums, not through demands. Here's where a lot of men get it wrong. They make all the typical mistakes. They've already lost her respect, and suddenly they try to assert control by saying, "I don't like this." But they don't follow up with action. They don't hint at walking away or express disappointment. They say the words but don't show that they mean them. And the woman knows this guy's emotionally dependent. He's not going anywhere. So she just brushes it off, thinking, "This guy's nagging again. What's his problem?" She might even tell you to get lost. And then men complain, "Women don't respect me. They don't take me seriously." But that's because they're doing everything wrong from the start. In my 5th webinar, The Chemistry of Female Attraction, I break all of this down in detail. I explain exactly how to trigger attraction on a deep, even biochemical level. All you have to do is follow the process and practice it. But instead, most guys do the opposite. They hesitate, get scared, and only act when things are already falling apart. Maybe she starts spending time with her friends more. Maybe she posts provocative photos, and now you want to act tough, but it's too late. You think, "Time to go berserk. I'll tell her I don't like it. Let's see if she really cares." But you're only doing it out of fear, hoping she's already in love so she won't leave. That's why you need to stop messing around with advice like it's a toy. Don't try to apply this content randomly to a girl you just happen to like. You need to take your growth seriously. Practice properly. In 6 months, you'll become a completely different man. A machine. A cyborg. That's how much you'll grow. Now let me add something important. When you do set boundaries with a woman, you need to do it gently, respectfully, but firmly. Here's what that looks like. Imagine she has inappropriate photos on her social media. If you say, "Either you delete those or I'm leaving," it will come across as emotional, insecure, even manipulative. She'll think, "Why now? Why didn't you bring this up earlier? Why the sudden drama?" She'll view it as a threat or ultimatum, and women don't respond well to that. Most won't believe you'll actually follow through. Instead, you could bring it up in a calm, thoughtful way. For example, during a quiet evening, you say something like, "There's something personal I'd like to share with you. I once had a difficult experience in my past that really changed how I feel about public photos in a relationship. I've realized that I'm just not comfortable dating someone who shares those kinds of images, no matter how close or warm our connection is. I'm not here to control you or ask you to change. Everyone has the right to live how they want. But I also have to be honest with myself. I don't think I can continue this if that's part of the picture. And that's okay. Maybe you need someone who sees it differently. That's it. Calm, grounded, and clear. And sometimes, even if she initially disagrees, she might come back to you later and say, "You know what? You matter to me. I'll delete those photos for you." And that's genuine. That comes from her desire, not from your pressure. Let me give you an example of how to express your boundaries in a calm and respectful way. You could say something like this: "You know, I've been through a difficult experience in my past, something that really changed the way I look at relationships. I realize that I feel strongly about the topic of revealing photos posted online by women who are in a relationship. I really enjoy spending time with you. You're amazing, and I've tried to overlook it, thinking maybe I could get used to it or that it wouldn't matter. But the truth is, this has become a principle for me. I'm not asking or expecting you to delete them. I wouldn't want to pressure you or make you feel forced. That wouldn't be fair. But at the same time, I've come to understand that I just can't continue seeing someone who shares those kinds of pictures publicly. Maybe you'd be happier with a man who's comfortable with that, who sees things differently." If she replies with something like, "Well, that's too bad," and ends it there, then the relationship likely wasn't going to grow into anything meaningful anyway. But if later on she reaches out on her own and says, "You're important to me, I'll delete them," that's completely different. That comes from her own decision, not because you forced her hand. The point here isn't to try and control someone. If you're dating a woman who's already posting provocative photos, you shouldn't be trying to change her. You should have understood her values and personality before entering into a relationship. You can adapt this approach to many similar situations in life. What matters is how you set and express your standards. Let's move on to another major mistake: jealousy. So how do you deal with it? Option one, your jealousy has no real basis. Nothing is actually happening. The real issue is that you've had a painful experience in your past. Maybe you were betrayed or cheated on, and now in every new relationship, you expect it to happen again. If that's the case, then you need therapy and you need life experience. But most importantly, you shouldn't be in a relationship until you've dealt with it. Otherwise, you'll only end up suffering and dragging someone else into your emotional mess. Nothing good will come of it. Jealousy doesn't just go away on its own. Now, let's say there is a legitimate reason to feel jealous. Then the situation should be handled similarly to how you deal with other boundaries: calmly, clearly, and with self-respect. But here's the deeper issue. Jealousy often reveals insecurity and indecisiveness in men. If you're choosing someone to build a life with, if you truly see yourself as a confident, independent man, then why would a woman's poor behavior push you to chase after her or fight for her attention? If a woman reveals a side of herself that you don't respect or that goes against your values, that should be a deal breaker. You should walk away. If you have experience, you'll spot red flags quickly. If you're still gaining that experience, you'll at least know how to think critically and evaluate the situation. But if you have no experience, no emotional control, and no discipline, you'll fall into the trap of clinging to the wrong woman. And then you'll end up running in circles, constantly feeling jealous. Jealousy becomes a lazy way to try and take control of the relationship. And what are you really hoping for when you act jealous? For her to comfort you? Sure, the first time, she might try. The second time, maybe too. But eventually it turns into a pattern, especially if she's the type of woman who enjoys keeping men emotionally hooked. She'll just tell you, "Relax, it's nothing. You're imagining things. But will that actually help? No, because you still won't believe her. You'll continue to feel uneasy. This is why I believe that a person needs to be emotionally mature before entering a serious relationship. Otherwise, even the best relationship will turn into a disaster. So if you already have some life experience and you're facing this issue, it's time to reflect deeply on your current situation. If this woman gives you real reasons to doubt her even once, and those reasons are legitimate, then something tells me it might be time to walk away. And once you reach that point, you'll see this happen again and again.